Noah James stood at the construction site, wearing his hard hat and inspecting the workers' progress when his phone buzzed with an important call. Excusing himself, he stepped outside to take it, the noise of machinery fading behind him. Just as he began speaking, a loud shout came from the upper floor, and he instinctively looked up. A worker had slipped while carrying a heavy bucket of cement mixture, and before Noah could react, the bucket tipped over, spilling its contents. The thick, wet cement splashed directly onto his face, burning his eyes and leaving him in agony. The accident cost him not only his sight but also his career as the brilliant architect he had worked so hard to become. Noah was a successful manager and architect at the biggest construction company in Kimo City. Noah James is a celebrated architect whose work has redefined the boundaries of modern design. Standing tall with an air of quiet confidence, his sharp eyes always seem to be surveying the world, drawing inspiration from the most unexpected places. Noah has a timeless sense of style, often spotted in tailored suits in muted tones, accentuated with sleek glasses that give him an intellectual edge. His silver-streaked dark hair and a warm, commanding voice make him a captivating presence in any room. Despite his immense success, he remains humble, a trait that endears him to both clients and colleagues. He is known for his meticulous attention to detail and an uncanny ability to visualize the final product long before the first sketch is drawn. Noah's designs are a harmonious blend of functionality and artistry, often described as living sculptures. His signature style incorporates fluid, organic shapes with sharp, geometric precision, creating a sense of movement even in static structures. Glass, steel, and natural elements like wood and stone are staples in his projects, which often embrace sustainability and innovative technology. Some of his most iconic works include skyscrapers with facades resembling cascading waterfalls, urban parks designed to mimic forest ecosystems, and private residences that blur the line between indoor and outdoor living. Each project is an experience, captivating, immersive, and inspiring, earning him accolades as one of the most visionary architects of his generation. Noah and Karen's relationship was the kind that made people believe in love again. Living in the bustling city of Kimo, they had been inseparable since they met a few years ago. Their love grew steadily, and just a few weeks ago, Noah had proposed to Karen in the most romantic way, on a private yacht during a sunset cruise, with the city skyline glowing in the background. Karen said yes without hesitation, and their engagement became the talk of the town. Despite Noah's success and wealth, their relationship wasn't built on material things but on mutual respect, love, and shared dreams. However, Noah never missed a chance to pamper Karen, showering her with expensive gifts, surprise vacations to exotic destinations, and everything else her heart desired. Karen, on the other hand, wasn't just beautiful, she was hardworking and talented. She owned a small but popular clothing studio in Kimo City, where she created stunning designs that combined modern styles with a touch of traditional African patterns. Her dresses were known for their elegance and comfort, earning her a growing list of loyal clients, including celebrities and socialites. Karen's attention to detail was unmatched, and she often spent long nights sketching designs or sewing samples by hand. She loved her work, and Noah admired her passion, often saying she was the most creative person he had ever met. Though their lives were busy, Noah and Karen made time for each other. They enjoyed long drives through the city, quiet dinners at home, and laughing over shared memories. Karen often joked that Noah was her biggest fan, as he proudly wore suits she designed for him to his meetings and events. Together, they were a power couple, each successful in their own right but even stronger as a team. Their love story was one that seemed destined for a happy forever. Karen's best friend, Kia, was like a sister to her, and they shared an unbreakable bond. They would talk about everything and anything, from their dreams and fears to the funniest moments of their day. Kia always admired Karen's success as a talented cloth designer and often praised her creativity. She also couldn't hide her excitement over Karen's relationship with Noah, saying Karen was lucky to have someone who loved her so deeply and treated her like a queen. Karen, in turn, appreciated Kia's constant support and honesty, knowing she could always count on her best friend to listen, give advice, or just make her laugh when things got tough. Their friendship was one of trust, encouragement, and endless laughter. One morning, Noah woke up feeling unusually restless, though he couldn't explain why. The sun was shining brightly, and everything seemed normal, but a strange heaviness hung in the air. As he got ready for work, things started going wrong. First, he accidentally knocked a glass off the counter, and it shattered on the floor. Then, while cleaning it up, he bumped into a chair and nearly tripped. Minutes later, he spilled coffee on his freshly ironed shirt and had to rush to change. Frustrated, Noah shook his head and muttered, "Maybe it's a bad omen." Karen, watching him with amusement, told him to stop worrying. "It's just one of those days," she said, laughing as she handed him his tie. Despite the rocky start, Noah tried to brush it off as he prepared to leave. Karen kissed him on the cheek, reminding him to be careful at work. He smiled and promised to call her later. "Don't work too hard," he teased as they both headed out the door to their separate jobs. Though he still felt a little uneasy, Noah was excited about the new designs he planned to oversee at the construction site. He had no idea that this strange morning would mark the beginning of a life-changing tragedy. When he got to work that morning, he stood at the construction site, wearing his hard hat and inspecting the workers' progress when his phone buzzed with an important call. Excusing himself, he stepped outside to take it, the noise of machinery fading behind him. Just as he began speaking, a loud shout came from the upper floor, and he instinctively looked up. A worker had slipped while carrying a heavy bucket of cement mixture, and before Noah could react, the bucket tipped over, spilling its contents. The thick, wet cement splashed directly onto his face, burning his eyes and leaving him in agony. The accident cost him not only his sight but also his career as the brilliant architect he had worked so hard to become. The construction site erupted into chaos after the accident. Workers nearby shouted for help as they rushed to Noah, who was on the ground, clutching his face and groaning in pain. Cement mixture dripped from his head and clothes, and his eyes were tightly shut, burning from the harsh chemicals. Someone quickly grabbed a bottle of water and tried to wash his face, but it only seemed to make things worse. "We need to get him to the hospital now," one of the foremen yelled, and a few men carefully lifted Noah, supporting him as they hurried to a car. The drive to the hospital was tense, with Noah groaning in agony, and the workers trying to keep him calm, assuring him he would be okay. By the time they reached the emergency room, Noah's world had gone dark, and fear gripped everyone as doctors rushed to save his sight. Noah was rushed into the emergency room, his face covered in wet cement and his eyes swollen shut. The doctors acted quickly, cleaning off the cement and assessing the damage. The severity of the burns and the chemicals affecting his eyes meant immediate surgery was necessary. Nurses hurried to prepare him for the operating room as the construction workers explained what had happened. The air was thick with urgency as the medical team worked tirelessly to stabilize him. Meanwhile, Karen received the call while she was busy at her studio. When she heard that Noah was in the hospital after an accident, her heart sank. Dropping everything, she rushed to the hospital, tears streaming down her face as fear gripped her. When she arrived, the doctors were already in surgery, and she was told to wait outside. Karen paced the hallway, her hands trembling, praying that Noah would be okay. Each passing minute felt like an eternity, and she couldn't shake the image of him in pain. After hours in the operating room, the doctors emerged with heavy expressions. They explained to Karen that Noah's injuries were worse than expected, and they had done everything they could to save him. However, due to the trauma and complications, they had to place him in a medically induced coma to allow his body to heal. Karen broke down, feeling like her world had shattered. For the next 2 months, she stayed by his side every day, hoping and praying that he would wake up and their lives would go back to normal. After 2 long months, Noah finally woke up from the coma. Karen was by his side, holding his hand tightly when his eyes fluttered open. Relief and joy filled her heart, but her smile faded when she noticed Noah's confusion. The doctor soon came in, his expression serious. He explained gently that the accident had caused severe damage to Noah's eyes, and despite their efforts, he would not be able to see again. The words hit like a thunderbolt, and silence filled the room. Noah remained quiet, his face blank, but Karen could see the pain in his expression. She squeezed his hand, tears running down her cheeks, whispering that they would get through this together. A few days later, Noah was discharged from the hospital. Karen helped him into the car, carefully guiding him every step of the way. As they arrived home, Noah hesitated at the door, realizing how much his life had changed. Karen reassured him, holding his arm as they stepped inside. She had rearranged the house to make it easier for him to move around and promised to be there every step of the way. Though the weight of his new reality was heavy, Karen's love and determination gave Noah a glimmer of hope that he could rebuild his life, even in darkness. As the days passed, Noah slowly began to adapt to his new reality. He relied on Karen to guide him, but he was also learning how to do things differently, step by step. One afternoon, they decided to go shopping together at a nearby mall. Karen picked out groceries while describing each item to Noah, making him feel included in the process. They laughed and talked as they shopped, and for a moment, it felt like old times. When they finished, they carried their bags to Karen's car, but as soon as she tried to start it, the engine wouldn't budge. Frustrated, she sighed and decided they would have to take an Uber home instead. They walked together to a nearby bus station where they could wait and order a ride. As they sat down, Karen suddenly remembered they had forgotten one of the bags in the supermarket. "Wait here, Noah," she said gently. "I'll go back and get it quickly. I won't be long." Noah nodded, gripping his walking stick tightly. Though he couldn't see, he could hear the bustle of the busy street and feel the cool breeze on his face. He reassured Karen that he would be fine, and she hurried off, leaving him alone at the station. Noah sat there, listening to the sounds around him, the chatter of people, the honking cars, and the occasional laughter of children passing by. Though he couldn't see the world anymore, he had started to appreciate it differently through sounds and smells. He waited patiently, tapping his stick lightly on the ground. Time seemed to stretch as he wondered what was taking Karen so long, but he trusted her to return soon. For now, he focused on staying calm, reminding himself of how far he had come since the accident. As Noah sat waiting for Karen, the sound of small footsteps caught his attention. A woman approached him, speaking politely but quickly, her 2 young sons holding onto her hands. "Sir, could you please watch my boys for a moment? I need to grab something from across the street." "I'll be right back," she said. Though surprised, Noah nodded. "Of course," he replied, gripping his walking stick for support. The woman thanked him, gave her sons a reassuring smile, and hurried off toward the road. Noah could hear the boys sit down beside him, their quiet giggles filling the air as they talked about toys and games. Just as the woman crossed the road, a loud screech of tires and a sickening thud echoed through the street. Nearby voices screamed, and people began to gather in panic. Noah frowned, tilting his head toward the noise, but he couldn't see what was happening. The boys, too young to understand the commotion, stayed close to Noah, chatting innocently about what snacks their mom might bring back. Unaware of the tragedy unfolding, Noah reassured the boys. "Your mom will be back soon," he said softly, though the unease in his chest grew. Meanwhile, across the road, the scene was chaotic. The woman had been hit by a speeding car and lay motionless on the ground. Bystanders rushed to help, but it was too late. She had passed away instantly. No one in the crowd recognized her or knew where she was from. As people tried to make sense of the accident, Noah and the boys continued to wait at the bus station, oblivious to the devastating truth. The minutes dragged on, and the boys began to grow restless, asking when their mom would return. Noah, still unaware, did his best to comfort them, completely unaware that their lives had just changed forever. After a few more minutes, Karen returned from the store, carrying the forgotten bag. She stopped in her tracks when she saw Noah sitting with 2 young boys. "Noah, who are these kids?" she asked, her voice filled with surprise. Noah smiled faintly and explained, "Their mother asked me to watch them for a few minutes while she went to get something across the street." "She hasn't come back yet?" Karen looked at the boys, who were now playing with a small toy car, and then glanced around, searching for any sign of their mother. She sat down beside Noah, her expression growing concerned as the minutes dragged on. As the sky turned orange and began to darken, Karen started to get nervous. "Noah, what if she's not coming back?" she whispered. "What if she abandoned them here?" Her words made Noah frown, but he shook his head. "I don't think she'd just leave them. Maybe she's stuck somewhere," he said, though his voice lacked confidence. The boys were getting restless, asking when their mom would return. Karen couldn't shake the uneasy feeling and finally said, "We can't leave them here. Let's take them home with us for now and figure this out." With a heavy heart, she held one boy's hand while Noah carefully guided the other, and they made their way back to their house, unsure of what to do next. When they got home, Karen was clearly upset. As soon as the boys were settled in the living room, she turned to Noah, her arms crossed. "Noah, I'm not ready to raise kids," she said firmly. "This isn't our responsibility. We should report this to the police tomorrow. If no one comes to claim them, then maybe they should go to an orphanage or be put up for adoption." Noah frowned, sensing the frustration in her voice. "Karen, they're just kids. They've been through enough already. We can't just give up on them," he replied softly. Karen shook her head. "Noah, I'm serious. I don't even live here permanently, we're not married yet. And this has nothing to do with us. I'm just not ready for this," she added, her voice rising slightly. After a tense moment of silence, they decided to focus on the boys for now. Karen made them sandwiches and poured some juice while Noah sat nearby, trying to comfort them. The boys, too young to understand the full situation, ate quietly, still asking about their mom. Karen and Noah gave them a spare mattress in the guest room and tucked them in for the night. As they finally went to bed, the tension between them lingered. Karen couldn't stop thinking about how much their lives could change, while Noah lay awake, torn between his sense of responsibility and Karen's reluctance. The next day, Karen and Noah went to the police station to report the situation about the boys. The officers listened carefully, took down all the details, and promised to investigate. However, after hours of waiting, no one came forward to claim the boys or even ask about them. A senior officer finally told Karen and Noah, "For now, you'll have to take care of the kids until we can locate their family or find another solution." This news hit Karen hard. She frowned, her frustration clear, and whispered to Noah, "This isn't what I signed up for." Noah tried to calm her, but it was clear that the idea of temporarily caring for the boys didn't sit well with her at all. After another heated argument with Noah, Karen couldn't take it anymore. She packed a small bag of clothes, her face tense with frustration. "I can't do this, Noah," she said firmly, her voice trembling with both anger and sadness. "This isn't what I planned for my life. You need to figure something out, something that works for both of us, or I don't know how we'll move forward." Noah tried to reason with her, but she wouldn't listen. With a heavy heart, she grabbed her bag and walked out, leaving him and the boys behind. When Karen arrived at her mom's house, she broke down in tears, explaining everything. Her mom listened patiently, then hugged her tightly. "You did the right thing, Karen," her mom said gently. "You didn't sign up for this, and it's okay to step away if it feels too much. You need to think about yourself too." Though Karen felt guilty, her mom's words gave her a sense of relief. For now, she decided to stay at her mom's place while figuring out what to do next. The next day, Karen met her best friend, Kia, at her clothing shop. As they sat in the cozy little office, Karen poured out everything: how she and Noah had taken in the boys, how she wasn't ready for the responsibility, and how she'd left to stay at her mom's place. Kia listened quietly at first, her face thoughtful, but when Karen finished, Kia shook her head. "Karen, I don't think this is right," she said firmly. "Noah is blind, and now he has 2 kids to care for. He needs you more than ever, especially as his fiancé. You've always been his biggest support. How can you just leave now?" Karen sighed, rubbing her temples. "Kia, I get it, but I didn't sign up for this. I'm not ready to raise someone else's kids. And Noah refuses to let them go. What am I supposed to do?" Kia frowned, leaning closer. "You're supposed to stand by him, Karen. Marriage isn't just about the good times, it's about supporting each other, even when it's hard." But Karen shook her head again, her expression firm. "I love Noah, but I can't do this. He's made his choice, and I have to make mine," she said, her voice quiet but resolute. Kia sat back, disappointed but knowing Karen had made up her mind. The next day, after Kia's words stayed in her mind, Karen decided to take some action. She hired a house help and brought her to Noah's house, hoping this would solve the problem. "This is Ada," Karen said to Noah, her voice calm but distant. She'll help you with the house and the kids since I can't do this myself. Noah, though surprised, thanked her for the gesture. Karen stayed for a while, showing Ada around and explaining the routines, but once everything seemed settled, she left again, promising herself she had done enough. At first, Ada seemed kind and capable. She cooked, cleaned, and took care of the boys, but her attitude quickly changed when she realized Noah couldn't see her actions. She began shouting at the boys for the smallest mistakes, denying them food if they upset her, and making them do chores beyond their strength. The boys, too scared to speak up, suffered in silence. Noah, though blind, started to sense something wasn't right. He could hear the boys' quiet sobs at night and felt uneasy about Ada's sharp tone, but without proof, he didn't know how to act. One afternoon, Kia decided to visit Noah to see how he and the boys were doing. As she entered the house, she heard Ada shouting angrily at the boys and saw her grab one of them roughly by the arm. Shocked and furious, Kia stormed in and confronted her. "What are you doing to these kids?" Kia demanded. Ada stuttered, trying to defend herself, but Kia wouldn't hear it. She turned to Noah and told him everything she had seen. Heartbroken and angry, Noah immediately sent Ada away, apologizing to the boys for not protecting them sooner. From that moment, he knew he had to find a better way to care for the boys, even without Karen's help. Noah began to adjust to life on his own, doing his best to take care of the boys despite the challenges. He learned to rely on his hands and memory to navigate the house, feeling his way around to find the kitchen, bathroom, and other rooms. Cooking became a slow process, but he managed, often asking the boys for help to ensure the meals were edible. Bathing the boys and helping them with their schoolwork was especially tricky, but Noah refused to give up. Though exhausting, every small success gave him a sense of purpose and determination to keep going. The boys, seeing his effort, started helping where they could, slowly bonding with him in a way they hadn't before. Meanwhile, at her mom's house, Karen found herself facing constant advice she wasn't sure she wanted. Her mom sat her down one evening and said, "Karen, you're a beautiful young woman. You don't have to tie yourself down to Noah anymore. He's not the same man he used to be. He's blind, unemployed, and now has 2 children who aren't even his. Is this the life you want?" Karen hesitated, her mother's words stirring doubts she was already grappling with. "You deserve a partner who can give you the future you dreamed of, not someone who'll weigh you down," her mom added. Though Karen loved Noah, the image of her old life felt far away, and she started wondering if her mom might be right. Karen couldn't shake her mom's words, no matter how hard she tried. They echoed in her mind every time she thought about Noah or the boys. One evening, after a long internal struggle, she made a decision. Sitting alone in her room, she downloaded a dating app and set up a profile. It felt strange at first, but soon she found herself chatting with different men. Before long, she started going out on dates, meeting men who seemed to have everything Noah no longer could offer: careers, independence, and no extra baggage. Slowly, Karen stopped thinking about visiting Noah, telling herself it was time to focus on her own life. Kia, however, noticed the changes in Karen and wasn't happy about it. One day, she confronted Karen in her shop. "Karen, what are you doing? You're engaged to Noah. How can you just abandon him like this?" she asked, her tone a mix of disappointment and anger. Karen avoided her gaze and sighed. "Kia, you don't get it. I'm not ready for that kind of life. Noah's situation is hard, and it's not what I want for my future," she replied. Kia crossed her arms and shook her head. "Noah didn't choose to go blind, Karen. The accident wasn't his fault. He's already lost so much, don't let him lose you too," she pleaded. Karen felt a pang of guilt, but her resolve didn't waver. Her mom's encouragement only made it easier to keep going. Every time Karen shared details about her dates, her mom would smile and say, "That's good, Karen. You're doing the right thing. You're young and beautiful, you deserve the best." Karen clung to those words, letting them drown out the guilt that sometimes crept in. Even though part of her missed Noah, she convinced herself that moving on was the right choice. For now, she chose to ignore the voice in her head that questioned if she was doing the right thing. When Karen felt she had found someone new and was ready to move on, she decided it was time to tell Noah. But instead of doing it herself, She asked Kia to break the news for her. Kia, please go and tell Noah that it's over between us, Karen said, avoiding her friend's gaze. Kia was stunned. Are you serious, Karen? You want me to tell him? After everything he's been through, after everything you've done, you want me to deliver the blow? Karen shifted uncomfortably but nodded. I can't face him, Kia. It's too hard. Please, just do it for me, she pleaded. But Kia refused. No, Karen. If you're ending things with him, you owe him the respect of saying it to his face. He doesn't deserve this, not after you left him to struggle alone. At least honor the good times you shared and be honest with him, Kia said firmly, her voice filled with disappointment. Karen's face hardened, and the tension between them grew thick. You don't understand, Kia. I need to move on. This isn't my life anymore, Karen replied coldly. Kia shook her head, her heart heavy. No, Karen. I do understand. And it breaks my heart to see the person you've become, she said before walking away. That conversation marked the end of their friendship, a bond shattered by choices Karen would one day struggle to justify. 2 days later, Karen went to Noah's mansion, her heart heavy but her mind made up. Sitting across from him in the living room, she took a deep breath and said, Noah, I came to tell you that I've found someone else. His name is Paul, and things are going well between us. Noah froze, his hands gripping the armrest of the chair. Karen, please don't do this, he said, his voice trembling. Not now, not when everything has already fallen apart. We can figure this out together. But Karen shook her head, avoiding his blank gaze. I'm sorry, Noah. I can't do this anymore, she whispered before standing up and walking out, leaving Noah sitting in silence, shattered by the finality of her words. After the breakup, Karen moved on quickly and began building her life around Paul. They went on dates, attended events together, and shared plans for the future. Paul was everything Karen thought she wanted: successful, charming, and free of the burdens she had left behind. With her mom's constant support and encouragement, Karen felt she was finally living the life she deserved. She poured herself into her work, designing beautiful clothes that gained even more attention, and seemed happier than ever to those around her. Meanwhile, life was a daily struggle for Noah. He tried his best to care for the boys, but being blind made everything harder. Simple tasks like cooking, cleaning, and even finding the boys' school supplies became exhausting. Money was tight, and Noah felt the weight of responsibility pressing on him more each day. Still, he refused to give up, pushing forward for the sake of the boys who had grown to depend on him. Though life was far from easy, Noah clung to the hope that brighter days might come, even if he couldn't see them. After much thought, Kia decided she couldn't watch Noah and the boys struggle any longer. She packed her bags and showed up at Noah's door one evening, ready to help. At first, Noah hesitated, unsure about accepting such a big offer. Kia, you don't have to do this. I'll figure things out, he said, his voice filled with uncertainty. But Kia shook her head firmly. Noah, it's okay. You don't have to do this alone. Let me help, she replied with a warm smile. Her determination was clear, and Noah finally agreed, though he still felt a little guilty. The first thing Kia did was sit down with the boys, eager to get to know them better. So, what are your names? She asked gently, crouching to their level. The eldest spoke first. I'm Kenny, he said shyly, while the youngest added, and I'm Johnny. Kia smiled brightly and said, well, Kenny and Johnny, it's nice to meet you. Let's make this house a happy place, okay? From that day, Kia stepped in like a mother figure. She made sure the boys were up and ready for school every morning, packed their lunches, and helped them with their homework. She cooked warm meals, played games with them, and tucked them into bed at night with stories. The boys quickly grew to love her, feeling the kind of care and stability they hadn't had in a long time. Noah couldn't believe how much Kia was doing for them. One evening, after the boys had gone to bed, he sat with her and said, Kia, I don't even know how to thank you. You've given these boys a life they deserve. Kia smiled softly and replied, Noah, this isn't about thanks. They needed someone and so did you. I'm happy to be here. From that moment, Noah's heart filled with gratitude, and the house, once filled with struggle and sadness, began to feel like a home again. Karen and Paul's relationship grew stronger with each passing day. Paul was charming and generous, always bringing thoughtful gifts whenever he visited Karen. Her mom was thrilled about the relationship and encouraged Karen to focus on building a future with him. "Paul is exactly the kind of man you deserve," her mom would say, beaming with approval. Karen felt happy and secure, enjoying the attention and care Paul gave her. They spent more time together, planning for the future, and Karen began to feel she had made the right decision by moving on from her past. Meanwhile, back at Noah's house, things were also changing. Kia and Noah had grown closer, and he couldn't help but admire her kindness and selflessness. She cared for Kenny and Johnny as if they were her own, ensuring they were happy, healthy, and well-loved. Her warmth and patience brought life back into the home, and Noah found himself relying on her more each day. Kia also took great care of Noah, helping him navigate his blindness and making sure he never felt alone. For the first time in a long while, Noah felt a sense of peace, and deep down, he realized how much Kia meant to him. As days went by, Noah found himself falling in love with Kia. Her kindness, patience, and the way she cared for Kenny and Johnny warmed his heart. She brought light into his life, giving him hope and confidence he thought he had lost forever. To his surprise, Kia felt the same way. Their bond grew stronger, and they began to dream of a future together. They would sit in the evenings, talking about their plans, imagining a happy life where they could build a family full of love and laughter. For the first time since his accident, Noah felt truly alive again, and it was all because of Kia. Noah and Kia had started planning their traditional wedding, excited about the idea of building a life together officially. They talked about inviting close friends and family and how beautiful the ceremony would be. The boys, Kenny and Johnny, were thrilled, too, often asking Kia about the food and clothes they'd wear for the celebration. Life finally seemed to be falling into place for Noah, and he felt content with how things were turning out. One afternoon, Noah's uncle paid them an unexpected visit. He brought surprising news. A friend of his knew a specialist in India who could perform a surgery that might restore Noah's sight. "Noah," his uncle said, "this doctor has worked miracles before. The chances are good. You could see again." But Noah's reaction wasn't what they expected. He shook his head and said firmly, "I've already accepted my life as it is. I don't need false hope now. I've learned to live without my sight." His tone was calm but filled with pain, showing how much he had struggled to come to terms with his blindness. Kia gently held his hand and said, "Noah, I know it's scary, but it's okay to try. What if this works? You deserve to have every chance at getting your sight back." Her words were soft but full of encouragement. She reminded him of how far he had come and how much he had overcome. Slowly, her optimism melted Noah's hesitation, and he finally agreed to give it a chance. Though nervous, he trusted Kia's belief in him and decided to take this new step, hoping it could bring even more light into their lives. Noah was ready to leave for India, filled with a mix of nervousness and hope. Kia and the boys accompanied him to the airport to say goodbye. Kenny and Johnny clung to him tightly, their eyes filled with worry, while Kia reassured them that everything would be fine. She hugged Noah warmly and said, "We'll be here waiting for you no matter what. You've got this." Noah smiled, holding on to her words, and promised to keep in touch. As he walked towards the departure gate, Kia and the boys waved goodbye, their hearts hopeful for his safe journey and successful treatment. Meanwhile, Karen's world took a shocking turn. She had believed Paul was serious about their relationship, but one day he sat her down and told her the truth. "I already have a family," he admitted bluntly. "I can't leave my wife and kids for you. This was just fun." Karen was stunned, unable to believe what she was hearing. Tears streamed down her face as she begged him to reconsider, but Paul stood firm, leaving her without a second thought. Devastated and heartbroken, Karen felt betrayed and foolish for trusting him. To make things worse, Karen's business had fallen apart. Ever since she started dating Paul, she had changed, becoming rude and prideful. Her once loyal customers had left, feeling unappreciated, and eventually, Karen had to close her shop. Now, with no business, no relationship, and no support, Karen found herself alone. She cried endlessly, realizing how much she had lost: her love, her livelihood, and her sense of purpose. Her world was crumbling, and for the first time, She regretted the choices that had led her to this point. 2 months later, Noah returned from India, filled with excitement and gratitude. He had chosen not to tell Kia or the kids the exact date of his arrival because he wanted to surprise them. As soon as his plane landed, he had his driver pick him up, and he made sure to wear his black glasses, keeping up the appearance that he was still blind. His heart raced with anticipation as they drove home, thinking about how he would reveal the big news. When Noah stepped into the house, Kia was startled but quickly ran to him, wrapping her arms around him. "Noah, you're back," she exclaimed, her voice full of relief and joy. Kenny and Johnny followed, shouting excitedly, "Daddy, you're home." Kia gently guided him to sit down, noticing he was still wearing his glasses. Assuming the surgery hadn't worked, she knelt beside him and said softly, "It's okay, Noah. At least you tried. You're still amazing to us, and we love you just the same." Noah smiled, holding back his laughter. "Are you sure it's okay?" he asked playfully. Before Kia could respond, he suddenly took off his glasses and burst out laughing. "Because I can see now," he exclaimed, his eyes bright with life. For a moment, Kia and the boys froze, processing what he had just said. Then, as realization hit, they all screamed with joy. Kia hugged him tightly, tears streaming down her face, while Kenny and Johnny jumped around, shouting, "Daddy can see! Daddy can see!" The house was filled with laughter and celebration as they shared the good news. Noah explained how successful the surgery had been and how grateful he was for Kia's support. "I couldn't have done it without you," he told her, holding her hand. That evening, they decided to visit Noah's parents to share the happy news. During the visit, Noah and Kia set their wedding date, eager to take the next step in their journey together. It was during this visit that Kia discovered Noah's true identity. His parents revealed that Noah was actually a prince and had chosen to live a simple life to find true love and be treated as a normal person. Kia was shocked but also deeply moved by his humility. She realized that Noah's strength and character had nothing to do with his royal background but everything to do with the incredible man he was. The wedding day was nothing short of magical. It was a grand traditional ceremony, filled with color, music, and the love of family and friends. Kia looked stunning, and Noah couldn't take his eyes off her. They exchanged vows, promising to cherish each other and the family they had built. Kenny and Johnny were right there with them, grinning from ear to ear, knowing they were part of something truly special. After the wedding, Noah opened his own construction company, using his expertise to create beautiful designs and provide for his family. Life became even better as they started this new chapter together. With love, laughter, and a strong bond, Noah, Kia, Kenny, and Johnny found happiness they never imagined. Together, they built a future filled with hope and endless possibilities. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think about Kia and Noah. Do you think it was okay since Karen was her best friend? Comment down below. Kindly subscribe to help our channel, like and share. Take care of yourselves.